fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. It is episode 499, and it is featuring our amazing guest, Jim Roberts. I'm the maestro, Jeremy Karp. Thank you so much, folks. It is September 10th, 2024. Yes, 499. We are one episode away from the big 500. I couldn't be more excited. And before I introduce my amazing co-host for the evening, who I couldn't be here without, I'm going to do a quick thing and go right to our amazing sponsors that we have that keeps the Wrestle Talk Podcast going.
Consideration paid for by the following.
Okay, folks, here at the Wrestle Talk Podcast, we'd like to thank our great sponsors, them being Royal Mills Transportation, good old Dewan Mills, the Nobleman's Barber Lounge in KC, Missouri, Kincaid Arcade at the local Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media, thank you so much for everybody over there, and Little Popeye Designs. Get yourself a nice Wrestle Talk Podcast tumbler. You know, for just $20, you can get it engraved as well. And, of course, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group out there, the FWWC. With all of that said, also be sure to use the hashtags WTP and hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling to engage with all of us, get all the members of the family. We are so excited for tonight, but I am not going to be hosting the show alone, which is totally fine by me. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce this week's co-host with me. He is a industry legend, and I can't wait to say this. He is a future Hall of Famer, as next year he will be inducted into the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Skywalker Luke Roberts.
Jeremy, the maestro himself alongside Luke Skywalker Roberts here, and I got to tell you right now, no, you're not watching Roundabout Sports. That's tomorrow night. You're not watching the FWWC tonight. That's on Thursday night. You're watching the Wrestle Talk Podcast with the Maestro and Skywalker here, episode 499, Jeremy. I mean, again, the goosebumps are already starting to pop up on the forearm, my friend. 4 days until a landmark day in the history of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. I am just so beyond excited, not only for tonight, but as we go into 500, the 500th episode. And who knows who's going to stop by. Not only from the Wrestle Talk Podcast, but again, the Wrestle Talk Podcast in conjunction with the CHWA and John Holt Yo 10 is going to be taking place this Friday and Saturday at the Sports Academy in Glen Carbon, Illinois. 101 The Game Drive in Glen Carbon. Make sure to show up. Tickets are available at the door. There's also a special 2-night ticket. That's right. You can get a ticket for both Friday night and for Saturday night. Make it a point to stop on by. 2 great nights of professional wrestling this weekend. But you know what, Jeremy? Tonight, we're going to have a great night of professional wrestling here. Jim Roberts, no family connection here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Jim Roberts, a great friend of the show, longtime member of the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. And tonight, he's going to be joining us to talk all things professional wrestling. And Jeremy, I'm going to level with you, man. That Hall of Famer thing still kind of pretty fresh, but again, I'm looking forward June 22nd. We're going to have more information on that. Hopefully, we're going to have a little bit of information here later tonight. Again, we've been taking care of a few things. We've been taking care of some contracts. We've got some breaking news we're going to share later on tonight. And again, the Night Owl is right here, wishing us luck here. Again, 4 nights away from 500. And Jeremy, I do have to add something here. I would be remiss. Again, between now and then, we do have to take a moment here and kind of reflect. Tomorrow is the anniversary of, hands down, one of the most horrific events in American and world history, the attacks on the Twin Towers, on the Pentagon, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, September 11, 2001. Again, Patriot Day is tomorrow. And again, just like we do each and every week, want to give a shout out to all of our first responders, our EMTs, our fire, our police departments who go out there, as well as our armed forces, to make it a point each and every week that we can do what we need to do. Each and every day we can do what we need to do in this great country of ours. And tonight, again, great program coming up. We got Jim Roberts coming on in the 8 o'clock hour. Again, let your friends, let your family know. Share us all around the great big world of social media tonight, right here, Wrestle Talk Podcast, $4.99. And remember, this coming Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, it's going to be episode 500. And Maestro, tonight we got a great night to talk about things. But we talk about each and every week. And I don't know, I got to go back and look in the archives. I mean, again, I've been around the podcast for many, many episodes. I know you have been as well. I think this is one of the first times that I can recall in recent memory or across the board that tonight, I think it's only fitting that as we get ready for what we do each and every week right here on the program, as the Night Owl once said, keeping it as sharp as a number 2 pencil. Tonight, Jeremy, I'm going to give you the opportunity. I want you, as best you can. I mean, I know it's next to impossible, but I want you to channel your inner Nightmare Jones, your inner Joe Lance, and take care of our last little piece of business that we got to do before we get tonight's program rolling. So, Maestro, I'm going to throw it to you.
All right, folks, I know exactly what Skywalker's talking about. All right, folks, there's something we do before, and to continue off the point of our patriotism for our amazing country, folks. We'd be remiss if it wasn't now for the time to where everybody, please remove your caps if you are wearing one. Hold your hand over your hearts, and hopefully you all have one, as we pay homage to the greatest country on the face of the earth. America, damn it! Okay, I wish it was a better version. Oh, God.
Well, something, Jeremy, again, when we sit down and we look at things here on the program each and every week here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast, we need to make sure that we show our proper respect for those that have paved the way for us inside the squared circle, outside of the squared circle. And I'm going to tell you right now, as we're looking at things here, I mean, again, a lot of things going on. I mean, we talk about the world of professional wrestling. It's almost like now on a weekly basis that we're having to acknowledge wrestlers passing away. I mean, the last one was Psycho Sid. We've talked about the Anoa'i family, both Afa and Sika passing, among others. I mean, again, it's one of those. It's got to stop. I mean, again, but the world keeps turning, and we keep turning each and every week right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. And again, if you want to share us out there, make it a point. Hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. Hashtag WTP. Make it a point to share us out. You know what? Let's go tonight. Let's see if we can add one up here. Hashtag Jim Roberts. The one, the only, big time Jim Harris here on the program here tonight. And again, want to give a shout out.
I love having Jimmy aboard. Okay, wonderful. Yes, hashtag Jim Roberts. That being said, folks, wow, I am excited for tonight. That's gonna be great. I'm telling you.
Jeremy, this is going to be a great week. I mean, again, you got WTP tonight. You got over on Interstate 70 Sports Media. You got Roundabout Sports tomorrow night. The FWWC.
We're holding off tomorrow night, but yes, usually every Wednesday night. In fact, next Wednesday night, so September 18th, we will have former Cardinal pitcher Ray King returning to the show. Special thanks to our dear friend Babs for putting that together. So I just had to throw that quick scheduling update out there.
Hey, it's a good thing you let people know there, Maestro. But you know what? I think it's time. Like I said, they've heard a lot from us. They want to hear a lot about the news and views, the points of professional wrestling. So let's go ahead, ladies and gentlemen. No more talk. Let's go ahead and throw it out to our good friend DJ Money with the introduction of the High Spot segment right here on the WTP. Hit it.
There we go.
Mic check, mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like clear chops. We talk shop, coming through the screens of a laptop and non-stop like a runner speeches of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops, like a clock flash, look like a barely fly. Now that's hard. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast. Now they know we about to start the show.
All righty, folks. I'm telling you right now, we got a lot to talk about Skywalker. So, I mean, especially, you know what? I can't even just spoil any of the stuff. There's just so many things that have happened in the past week. Wrestling, good, bad, and ugly, to say the least.
Well, you know something, Jeremy, before we get too much farther along, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to our good friend, longtime member of the Wrestle Talk podcast family, DJ Money. And I'm going to go ahead here. Hopefully my computer screen will work here again. Shout out to Freddie Jack Funkhauser, last week's guest, joining us here on the program tonight. And like I said, right now I'm going to see here we can actually get, and it's not going to pull it up for us. We're going to go ahead and throw it up here in just a minute. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about Hardcore Hoss a little bit later on. But again, Jeremy, we can sit right here. We got a DJ Money. We've gone ahead and we got breaking news here. DJ Money, he's the VP of U.S. Operations for Fighting for Autism, the owner, CEO of Bryant Hill. Shop BryantHill.com for more information about all the great products that he brings forth. And again, if you're in the greater Georgia area, you want to stop by all those personal care items, make it a point to check out DJ Money and Bryant Hill Outfitters. A great series of products brought to us by the one and only DJ Money. And you know what, Jeremy? Let's go ahead. I'm gonna let you do it tonight because I've had a really bad string of luck lately.
I'm ready. Let's hit this randomizer.
Well, before we get the randomizer going, if anything happens to the randomizer, I'm going to put it out there to the WTP family tonight. It's not on me. It's on the Maestro. So go ahead, Mr. Carp, and hit it.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's do this. In the name of the Wrestling Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, let the randomizer work tonight.
All right, our first question here from the great thing here. Ooh.
Okay. All right, I'll say, how do you feel about the fresh duo of Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore on Monday Night Raw? Are you eager for more of their commentary, Terry? Okay, I'm going to run with this one quickly because honestly, I don't have an issue with it, Skywalker. I really don't. Like, Wade Barrett's a pretty good commentator, And look, this is no surprise of WWE to try to bring outside voices into the world of professional wrestling. And for the most part, it usually pans out. Not always. Look, this is just his second week on the job. It's going to take time for Joe to really get into it, get into his groove. So I don't really have as much of an issue. I just miss Pat McAfee and Michael Cole teaming up. That's all I can say. So you're up, my friend.
Oh, I thought you were likening it to Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore. I'm going to tell you right now, if it weren't for Wade Barrett, I would have been asleep. I understand 2 weeks on the job. Give it some energy. Give it some fire. Give it some motivation. I mean, it was like literally like I was hearing, to me, somebody that was paid to recite, like the guy on the movie phone back in the day. I mean, it was just so bland to me. And I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Oh, boy.
Bring back Michael Cole. Even bring back Pat McAfee, because I'm going to tell you right now.
Pat McAfee and Michael Cole. I don't see, why is that a bad thing to say?
Bring them back. I mean, bring back Mike Adamle if you want to go that far. I mean, it was one of those where it was so dry to me last night.
Don't. No, you cannot be in Mike Adamle territory. Okay.
What? Well, just because of the fact that he calls Jeff Hardy, and he can't say Elimination Chamber, and he doesn't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch. I mean, come on.
No. Now this is where I was fine with what you were saying up until that. Because guess what? Joe Tessitore is only going to be the play-by-play guy. Or he's only going to be the guy right there calling, the matches. Whereas Mike Adamle eventually, for some godforsaken reason, became general manager of Monday Night Raw. And we all know how atrocious his Adamle originals were. So no, that just opened up a bunch of PTSD. That is the first time I have heard about that in years. And that actually kind of hurt. And oh God, corny in the E. Look, Jim Cornette is one of the greatest minds in professional wrestling in the sense of his history and old school and promotion and booking. He's an icon. But he's also that crazy uncle that you kind of hope doesn't show up to Thanksgiving. At least in 2024. He's so crazy. So enough for me.
You know something, Jeremy? I mean, again, when you're talking about Jim Cornette, I mean, again, there's been a lot of things here. Hey, you know what? I'm just thinking about it. Assad, I'm going to go one better. Let's go ahead. Let's put all the cards on the table, and we'll have another 3-man like WCW announcing team, that being myself, the Maestro, Jeremy Karp, and why not go for the complete trifecta, and we'll bring in Richard Douglas. Oh, wait a minute. No. We're not going to go there. We want to keep our sanity. We want to keep our patience. Tell you what, how about you, Maestro, I got one better. You, me, and our good friend, the one, the only, the WWE Wrestling Insider, Larry Nickel. How about that one?
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, yeah, I'd rather do that over Richard Douglas because, quite frankly, at least we know that if Larry Nickel was a part of it, he would show up to everything. So that being said, folks, I think it's time we go to our next thing on our lovely randomizer. So if without further ado, let's get brings up for us.
All right. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
When Raw goes to 2 hours on October 7th, will it help or hurt the WWE? Luke, it is all you.
I'm going to tell you right now, And I mean, again, we really don't have a lot when it comes to the wonderful world of Netflix and how that's all going to roll out at the first of the year. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be one of those, I think it's really going to be a litmus test, because a lot of people I've heard, I mean, again, I'm just going to throw one out there. I heard on Busted Open, I heard with Dave LaGreca, had an opportunity to listen to his program. And a lot of people are saying, and he's just one of it, just happened to pop in the top of my head, is the idea of a lot of pro wrestling rosters now are getting very overloaded. They're getting very saturated. They're getting some wrestlers who are very complacent. I think with only having 2 hours of TV time in the course of a Monday night episode, that to me is right about where we need to be. When we start getting into 3 and 4 hours, I mean, it's just the basic viewer does not keep the attention. I mean, you look at it last night, and there was a lot of great wrestling. I'm not going to knock that with me. It was a good show. But when it comes down to it, I really think it's one of those situations in which you need to have it apart to have some competition, have some people stepping it up. Because you look at things like AEW Dynamite. Now, again, that's apples to oranges. But I think AEW is set up to the idea of where it's just about enough time. If they run over a little bit, it's what's there. And again, I agree with what's here. It's going to cause more people to be underused. Motivate people. It's going to encourage people, because one of the things that I was taught many years ago, and Carp, I know you heard this, the last person to say this, and again, I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit tonight. I'm in rare form. I remember a conversation I had with the Wind of Destruction, McCarthy. And no, he wasn't threatening to hurt me. I remember something the man said, and it really made a ton of sense. I've heard him say it. I've heard the Native Nightmare Jeremy Lightfoot say it. I've heard Black Glove Butch Fletcher say it. I heard the late Izzy Blackwell say it. I've heard countless wrestlers say this. If you are privileged enough to get time in front of a camera, that means you've done something. And you need to use that time to get your point across, to get the people to understand why they should pay their money to see you on their television screens, to see them live, to see them in PLEs. That's the thing that's there. And I'm going to tell you right now, some people may disagree with me on this, and I get it. But when it comes down to it, 2 hours. Hopefully, it's a litmus test for when we go to Netflix and we get 2 hours, because that's about all I really think the ideal wrestling show for me would be.
All right. First question I have. First off, I do want to say, Makazi, love you. God bless you. Unblock me on social. Anyway, first thing I have to say is, have they announced that start time it would it start at 8, end at 10, or start at 7, end at 9? Like, what are you thinking about here? What did they say?
Well, right now, I'm going to tell you, Jeremy, I really haven't. I mean, again, I think they've been very tight-lipped about this whole Netflix situation. Tell you what, while you're going ahead and looking at your point, I know you got a couple other points here. I mean, again, this is one of those hot-button topics we talked about in the meeting earlier today. I'm going to go ahead and see if Netflix has any kind of information regarding that, but I want to go ahead and continue and let you have the floor.
I mean, I obviously grew up watching 2 hours of Monday Night Raw. I grew up 2 hours watching Friday Night SmackDown. But I've become so used to 3 hours of Raw. Now, let's put this in perspective. You got 3 hours of Raw. You got Dynamite. And this is for somebody who, let's just say somebody watches as much possible wrestling in the American market as you can. So somebody, let's just say you, Luke, because you watch a shit ton of wrestling. So
I will admit that.
You got Raw 3 hours, SmackDown 2 hours, Dynamite 2 hours. Then you got Collision and Rampage, about 1 to 2 hours each. We're talking almost half a day's worth of professional wrestling just based on 2 promotions alone. Then you go You can watch NWA for free on YouTube. That's their show, and that's a couple hours. Do you want to watch any international wrestling, like Lucha Underground or New Japan? Add in the time for that. I mean, and look, I'm all for about professional wrestling, but at some point there's also such that thing as overkill. I remember a time when in WWE you could have 6 straight days of professional wrestling. You had Raw, you had ECW, you had what was that show? You had Main Event, you had Superstar, you had SmackDown, and we're gonna say it, Saturday Morning Slam. So right there, you have 6 straight days of WWE programming. And if you're a true hardcore fan, you end up watching all that. And at some point, and that was before the brand extension again. So at some point, more people, you'd see multiple times. I want to see how this goes. I'm curious. I think 2 hours is a good balance. I do think a lot of time, sometimes wrestling almost is on as background. And then if you're multitasking on something, just like you would a Monday Night Football game. And at some point, you as the audience member would be more in attended to the event if it's just 2 hours. Because then you got to think about the folks that are actually live at the event. It's a 3-hour live broadcast. But they do tapings before the show, and then everybody gets a go-home match. So you got at least one match after the show. So you're going to be there a while. But that's what I say. I think it's a good thing.
Well, Jeremy, I mean, again, just to give you an idea here, and I've done a little bit of research, and you were talking about multitasking. I mean, again, that's kind of like my staple when it comes to the Wrestle Talk podcast and in professional wrestling. I can kind of multitask and get things going here. Some things that have been brought up as it relates to what's going to happen when Raw goes to Netflix. And thank you very much, Freddie Jack, for that. I totally agree with you there. Things that were brought up here. 1, fewer to no commercials. I get you on that. Commercials do kind of get a little bit annoying at times. But again, that's how the sponsors pay the bills. 2, more foul language. I was going to leave that one there. 3.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. 3, less time restriction. 4, more crossover with the WWE and other products. And 5, there's a variety of different production changes that are there. And supposedly, from what is here, and again, I'm actually getting this, and this is going to sound crazy, I'm actually getting this through MSN of all people. I mean, again, this has been a huge discussion point. But supposedly, from the 7th of October to the end of 2024, it's going to be 2 hours. But from what has been told as of right now, the way it's going to be is supposed to be, it will be a 3-hour episode. So, again, I don't know if that's a wise move or not, but we're just going to have to wait and see. I think right now, when it comes down to it, if you're a member of the Wrestle Talk podcast family, I know full well that you love your professional wrestling. It doesn't matter what promotion it is, whether you're talking about AEW, WWE, New Japan, AAA, TNA, Ring of Honor, MLW, the local independent wrestling promotions. I mean, again, from top to bottom, pro wrestling is what a lot of the wrestling, I mean, again, that's what makes the Wrestle Talk podcast each and every week. I'm going to tell you right now, it's one of those where when it's all said and done, it's great to have content, but how much is too much? And again, one shall see. Now, as this is crazy enough, when we had our meeting, we were actually told that we could probably go with the high spots questions that we have. And we don't have too many tonight. I think we've got some. I'm just going to put it that way because I don't want to let the fans know how many we have. But I'm going to tell you right now, the questions we have right now, we could go on and on and on and on and on about high spots. But we're not going to go on and on about this question. Jeremy, hit the randomizer. Let's get something else up here to talk about in high spots here tonight. Our next high spots question. The WWE and NBC have been rumored to bring back Saturday night's main event in December. Will you watch? And Jeremy, I'm going to let you have this one.
I'm going to answer this in just one thing. I am excited, as you can tell. I'm hyped. This is going to be awesome. I am absolutely going to watch Saturday night's main event. That is all I have to say on that because, look, it's an iconic staple of professional wrestling. It is some of the golden, the 80s era of pro wrestling. Some of the most iconic moments in history happened on Saturday night's main event. Some of the biggest, most watched events were Saturday night main events. Over 30 million people tuned in to see Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant when Andre won the WWF title on Saturday night's main event. These things, it's iconic. I can't say it enough. And because there's something about it being on prime time. Yeah, you got your weekly shows, but to have a primetime special and in 2024, I'm sold. I'll watch.
I got two ways to look at it, Jeremy. For those that are old school fans, and I mean this old school, not in the truest of forms, whether it's Batista or the one, the only Sami Callihan, thumbs up, thumbs down. And here's why. I think that the WWE has got to find something to make it interesting. And I go back to the point that you made earlier. The idea that in the 80s, Saturday night's main event was must-watch TV. It was one of those, you knew that if it was going to take part on Saturday night's main event, it meant something. I remember back, and I'm just going to call it out there the way it is. It had gotten to a point, if I'm not mistaken, basketball contests, beer drinking contests, guest appearances from somebody who just shows up and stands there. I mean, WWE is great. I mean, again, it's considered probably to be the top of the line when it comes to professional wrestling. It's going to be a real hard sell to me if that's going to be reality to watch it in December. Could I in the future? Yeah. But I don't know, man. It just doesn't really draw as much as I hoped it would.
Okay.
You know something, Jeremy? Again, I think this is like the first night in a long time that you and I have both disagreed, but we've had very valid points. And like I said, I haven't gotten you too aggravated. I mean, I've only called you Richard Douglas 5 or 6 times tonight. And I mean, again, I know that he is your role model. And I know that one day is going to come when you and him are going to be able to have some form of broadcast television together. But when it comes down to it, I mean, again, at the end of the day, we know what it is in pro wrestling. And it's the high spot segment.
Well, I guarantee you this. If I had a show that like Richard Douglas had, or at least the time slot or the platform, I could draw better ratings.
Well, I mean, again, that's one of those and
I don't mean that. Well, how do I mean? Yes, I do. I mean that in a pompous way because, damn it, I've gotten to that point. All right, it is time now for the next high spot. If I can just get to our old randomizer, buddy. In your opinion, has Mercedes Moné lived up to her expectations thus far in AEW? Skywalker, go for it.
You know, Why are you making me Debbie Downer tonight?
I want to hear this because I'm curious on this one.
You know, I want to throw kind of oh, now I'm not going to be able to find the word.
He's going to say no.
I want to find a precedent here. Mercedes Moné brings up, and again, Jackson, you wanted Hardcore Hoss. He's here. There you go. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Now, when we sit here and we look at it, it seems like everybody that Mercedes Moné has wrestled, where'd they go? I mean, again, the most recent one that's been talked of is Britt Baker. Now, granted, there's other avenues that are behind that whole situation. But the fact remains that just to me, I don't think that she's delivered. I mean, I have to go back and actually look at it, but there have been several people that are saying that while I mean, again, part of it was because of her injury. I get it. I mean, again, she spent close to a year on the shelf dealing with an injury. But while she's a student of the game, I almost think that a lot of wrestlers have passed her by. And as crazy as it sounds, right now with her and Camille and AEW, a lot of people have likened it to Shawn Michaels and Big Daddy Cool Diesel. If Mercedes Moné doesn't get her act together, it's not going to be Michaels and Diesel. It's going to be Michaels and Jannetty. And I'm sorry to say it, in this case, if Mercedes Moné doesn't get things together, she's going to wind up being Marty Jannetty on the outside looking in AEW.
I just hope half of what Marty Jannetty's done and twice as much as what Marty Jannetty says he's done, Mercedes Moné doesn't do. With that said, I 1,000% agree with you, Skywalker, because this is the thing. When you are in WWE and you are calling yourself the boss and the biggest draw and you're saying, oh, Sasha Banks, I'm the best. Oh, yeah. Then you leave, put your title belt on the table, you walk out. I'm going to say it right now. Naomi's having a better run in WWE than Mercedes is in AEW because guess what? She's got the bigger platform. And in 2024, that's what matters. I'm sorry.
You know, Maestro, I got one here for you. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you look at it, Mercedes Moné, not going to discredit her. Tons of ability, tons of knowledge. One of the 4 horsewomen. I get it. But here's the first thing to look at. She's not even the AEW Women's Champion. She's holding the secondary Women's Championship. Now, the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, yeah, props to her. It shows that she has the versatility. But when it comes down to it, why is she not in the main event picture when it comes to the women's division?
Because she feels she's entitled to it, but to me, she hasn't earned it. There's, this is the thing, and my old football coach always said, you only deserve what you earn. She hasn't earned a shot at that AEW Women's World Title. She hasn't. I'm sorry. Look, she draws the attention, but I feel like when match time comes, it's a letdown. I feel that people tune into her so they can see what she screws up next. Or just to see her promos are becoming even more cringeworthy. Yes, she is a very talented wrestler, but she's not showcasing the utmost of her ability. You know why? Because you and I have seen her at her best. That is why. That's what frustrates me about this whole thing, is that she is not the best that she can be in AEW. And I'm not going to go like, oh, AEW, that's how it is. No, it's not the promotion. This is just how this is her. Whereas in WWE, somehow, some way, she was one of, if not the best woman wrestler on the roster. To me, Becky Lynch was the best, but that everybody has their opinions on that. Point being, she thrived somewhere, went somewhere else, got a lot of attention there, did very well, then goes somewhere else thinking that she's going to do better than where she started, and she's doing worse.
Carp, I want to throw something else out here. And this is just food for thought. I mean, I think you took it a little far, but I get where you're coming from. I went, and I'm going to give them a shout out to allelitewrestling.com. I just want to give you some of the names that are in the women's division that people, I think, are more interested in. When you have a roster with Dr. Britt Baker, you have a roster with Athena, you have a roster with Deonna Purrazzo, Hikaru Shida, Emi Sakura, Julia Hart, Chris Statlander, Jamie Hayter making her return recently, the AEW Women's Champion Mariah May. You have, and this is one that totally is out there, besides having Nyla Rose, you have Mercedes Martinez.
Where's my girl, Timeless Tony?
You have Toni Storm. You've got Rio. You've got Serena Deeb. You've got Saraya. Again, you've got Taya Valkyrie. You've got Thunder Rosa. You've got Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander. I mean, it's one of those things where, is she good? Yeah. I have no qualms about saying that.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, it's one of those where AEW, a lot of people say that the WWE has probably one of the best women's divisions in the world. I'm going to tell you right now, I think AEW's is on par. It's just the idea of where we got to see who steps out. And I will say, when it comes down to it, the Toni Storm, that timeless Toni Storm persona, it's gold. Because everybody, and it sounds
the
crazy.
best thing AEW has going. I don't care what anybody says. Say what you want about Swerve and Hangman, but this stuff with timeless Toni Storm is just absolute god tier. It is fantastic.
Jeremy, when you have a person who can make watch for the shoe relevant, that strikes something with me. With that, I mean, again, we're going to move on here because, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, we got lots more to talk about. And again, just to let you know, hashtag WTP, hashtag WrestleTalk Podcast, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. Again, as a reminder, we're going to have Jim Roberts here on in about 25 minutes or so. Let's throw it out here for another High Spots question.
This one's really working overtime because there's some big ones.
Uh-huh. And the answer is?
MVP has stated that if you don't make money with Omos, you're an idiot. Has WWE missed the mark with Omos? Or Amos? Or Amosa? Or Mimosa?
Yes. I think so.
They did. I agree.
He's 7'3". He's a man who's in great shape. He's young. And he's basically been put into situations where he's this great big bodyguard.
He's 30 years old.
It's one of those right now. Imagine if given the right opportunities, him and somebody like a Braun Strowman, him and a big Bronson Reed, him and a Damian Priest, him and a Karrion Kross. I mean, again, there are some seriously good matches. Another one I want to throw out there, a Drew McIntyre, a Sheamus. I mean, I could go on, and there's a lot of wrestlers down in NXT. How about Omos and Obafemi? To me, I think it's one of those, when it comes down to it, MVP being the mouth, Omos being the monster, was perfect. And I think it's one of those situations where, simply put, you have a huge man on your roster who has all the ability and all the potential, and you're just letting it sit. Maestro?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can have the genericness of big guys wrestling. It's happened God knows how many times in WWE. I mean, you've watched wrestling a lot longer than I have, and you've seen a lot of guys that have come in. They're just either really big or really tall or both, and they've completely flopped. Names such as Bastion Booger. We'll go with Giant Gonzalez. And even though he wasn't a flop, I'm just going to say it, people got a lot of issues with the Great Khali. So, and you know, everything Mabel did, you know, that point notwithstanding on that one. And of course, the oddities. So in the case of Omos, it's the fact that it's not so much that they've missed the mark because they haven't given him anything big. You know, they gave him the stuff with MVP and him for 2 years, or they had that 2-year alliance. Last time we've seen Omos was the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this year. Time before that, the last we had seen of him was at the Royal Rumble. Who did he eliminate in the Royal Rumble? Big Bronson Reed. Now, Big Bronson Reed is going to be is already a star. He's going to be an even bigger star in the future. Braun Breaker, another star who's already going to be an even bigger star. These are main event future guys. Okay? I'm not here saying Omos is going to main event at WrestleMania anytime soon, or ever for that matter. But the fact that he's just, the majority of the house shows have him beating Akira Tozawa. And it became a running gag because it was about what felt like 70 straight matches that Tozawa was losing at house shows to Omos. So, yes. I mean, there's always money to be made in a big wrestler. It's just if you can do it. And maybe Triple H is trying to go for a more realistic type thing. I don't know, as far as.
Well, Jeremy, I want to stop here a minute. You made a comment, and it really registered with me. Omos, let's look at the specs here a minute. Okay. Number one, played basketball at the college level.
Yeah.
You got to have some sort of athletic ability to be able to do it. Here's a guy who, at last check, 7'3", just a bit over 400 pounds.
Yeah, about 418, I think.
Yeah, somewhere in the low fours.
Wow.
And you're looking at this of where, and again, here's another thing that I didn't know. And again, I want to thank the great Wrestle Talk podcast media department here for this. Not only is he very knowledgeable, the man's fluent in 3 different languages.
Championship reigns are not one of them.
Yeah, but yeah, when you sit there and you look at it, though, Maestro,
I know, I get it.
he has everything there to make this work for him.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, one thing I was there too, and again, this is my plug here, and anybody that knows me knows that one of my big summertime extravaganzas is having the opportunity to watch the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. And I had the opportunity to watch the Netflix special a little over a week ago between Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi. And when they awarded Joey Chestnut his victory, they had it awarded to him by Rey Mysterio and Omos.
Damn.
That shows, simply put, all the ability in the world, all the potential in the world. And I really want to hear what the Wrestle Talk family has to say on this one. But when it comes down to it, he has all the potential. You don't make it up to the main roster if they don't see something in you. And like you said, the last time we've seen anything is he's just relegated to Battle Royals. Come on.
Yep.
Give him the opportunity. You give him the opportunity. I definitely think Omos doesn't disappoint.
All righty. That being said, we are going to continue here. I'm curious about what it's going to pull up. Ooh.
Oh.
This might have to be the main event high spot, Luke. I'm not going to lie. There is a lot. Did AEW cross the line with Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page? Okay, I'm going to provide a little background context about this whole thing. Because basically what happened is, right, I give Swerve credit, by the way, for being named number 2 in the PWI 500. But that being said, at All Out, AEW,
hold up, Jeremy. You're going to the end of the story, and you didn't even hit the main plot twist from Wednesday night.
Was with the childhood home.
Adam Page commits arson.
Okay, but
burns the house down.
No. This is why I'm not really counting that. Okay, no. Okay, fine. You want to say Hangman Adam Page committed arson by burning down Swerve Strickland's childhood home. Okay, you can't tell me we have literally seen buses, Stone Cold drop beams and exploding buses, Triple H falling off a forklift in a car. Let's see. What else do we have? We have Randy Orton burning down the Wyatt family house.
We've had that. I mean, again, we've had limousines have the entire back axle pulled out of them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That type of talk, this is why I didn't include that, because to me, that is not the root issue in 2024 storytelling. I hate to say it. Yes, that was an intense part of the story that made it personal and why I thought it was a great storyline. But that is not what this question is asking when it says cross the line. When this question is saying cross the line, they're talking about the fact that Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland had a lights out steel cage match at All Out that ended up having Swerve Strickland absolutely clobbered in the skull with a chair. And look, I'm going to tell you right now, and yes, there was a lot of other weapons like staple guns and, bats, all kinds of things used in this match. And I'm going to just say that 2 things. These are my 2 things. First off, did they cross the line with this match? As far as this, because the storyline to me has been great. Did they cross the line? I get, you would probably say yes at this point. I feel remiss if I didn't say yes. Because in 2024, you don't need to really be hitting somebody in the head with a steel chair. And then this is where the second part comes in. It was a gimmick chair. It was aluminum. I don't give a shit if it was cardboard. Okay? It would be more fine if it was cardboard. But the fact of the matter is, there is a reason that we do not see people getting hit in the skull with steel chairs on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. In fact, and if you just want to give me 1 second, Skywalker, I'm going to just put out right now, and it's going to replace the high spot question for just a second on our screen. It's going to say exactly why they do not do headshots anymore in WWE.
Okay. You know, I agree with you there, Jeremy. I mean,
Are you kidding me right now? No, because now I'm a little pissed off. This is the thing. Like, you look at my glasses went flying. I don't give a shit at this point. No. Yes, the sound effect was fantastic. Yes, it looked badass. From a wrestling, like, freak out awesome moment, yes, that was sweet. But it wasn't safe at all. It wasn't any safer when Mark Briscoe bashed Jungle Jack Perry's head in with the same type of shaved down chair not too long ago. You gotta understand, even if it's an aluminum chair, or even if it's a steel chair that's been shaved and gimmicked, if this is what you're doing with your hands behind your back, you still can't protect yourself. And that is the issue I have. It's not the fact that he necessarily got hit in the head. It's the fact that it was unprotected. If he went like this, if he was able to do this and get hit, okay, that's one thing. But the fact is that in 2024, a company that the owner and the promoter who snorts the Fun Dip sugar constantly says is the safest promotion in the world, allows guys to be handcuffed or zip tied or whatever to steel cages and bashed in the head, or had their hands behind their back and bashed in the head. So forget the arson thing. Forget all this other storyline crap. Because at the end of the day, Swerve Strickland got the shit hit out of him with that chair. Okay? Look, we're going PG. We're going R on this one. Because I'm going to tell you something. That fucking hurt. I am 1,000% certain. You want this to be my shoot and shout? I'll shoot. Why not? Because that infuriates me. You see the letters down below, Luke? That is why those types of shots shouldn't happen in 2024. So did they cross the line with the shot? Yes. Now, did they cross the line with the storyline? Of course not. It's a fantastic storyline. If it ends, or if it ended at the lights out steel cage match, then it's over. But point being, fantastic storyline, one of the best of the year. Terrible shot to end it all.
Well, you know, Maestro, I want to look at things here. And this is going to sound like I'm being hypocritical. Do I agree that the whole Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland story hasn't been captivating? No, I'm not. I think it's been nothing short of amazing. I agree with you on the CTE issue. I mean, I feel very fortunate in the fact that in my career, I was lucky enough that I didn't really have a lot of dealings with CTE. But when you look at things, and again, just taken in the last week, you take in, and I'm actually reading the list as I pulled them up. Again, I want to give a shout out to our great friends over at CBS Sports for this. Things that have been used in the last week: fire, staple gun, barbed wire, cinder blocks, chairs, table, a piece of burnt wood from the house. The one that personally to me was kind of a bit much was putting a syringe inside of his mouth.
Yeah, that was bad too. I know this is more about the
right, but I mean, I get where you're going from the underprotected chair shot. I get it. Did this matchup need all of the insanity? I don't think so. Did it need some of it? Yeah, I do. Because, I mean, when you sit there and you look at things like like tables, like if you go back to the 1980s, look at Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA and their I Quit match. And if you see, Magnum TA was threatening to gouge out Tully Blanchard's eye. You can talk about the empty arena match between Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk. The question is, how much is too much? And while I agree with you with the chair shot, I get it. But it's one of those where, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give props to the writer here, a gentleman by the name of Brent Brookhouse. Made the comment of, it's easy to imagine this match crossed a lot of people's lines for acceptable violence in professional wrestling. It's hard to rate it as a standard wrestling match. This was an explosion of violence through a storyline built on true hatred. On that level, it's hard to suggest the match was anything less than a success. And I mean, again, I get where you're coming from, Maestro. I totally 100% understand where you're at. I think they went a little too far? Yeah, I think they did. But when you have the story that you're trying to tell, and you look at it from a perspective of these two guys and how far they've pushed the envelope, I think this is almost one of those where you start looking at the TLC matches. And a lot of people have said, how much time did that take off of the Hardys' career? How much time did that take off Edge and Christian's career? How long did it take off the Dudley's careers? And when you sit there and look at it, this match did the same thing for Swerve and for Hangman Adam Page. But when it comes down to it, will people be talking about this match for a long time to come? Very much so. Now, at this point, again, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be joined here looking at the clock on the wall. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes or so, roughly, until we're going to be joined by the one, the only Jim Roberts, and I'm really looking forward to the interview, Jeremy. Well, you're getting a second to compose yourself. I know you found your glasses, and I'm
composed. And I want to say another thing about this. So this is the thing. You know, it's interesting. You listed all that stuff, and this. I wouldn't have as much of an issue of it if it weren't for the fact that Tony Khan constantly keeps saying that they're the safest promotion, and then constantly goes out of their way to prove that they're not. That's my thing. Like, if you want to do this, fine. If not, I don't know. I'm done.
Well, Jeremy, we're gonna have our great and good friend, longtime member of the Wrestle Talk podcast family, the one and only Jim Roberts, in a few minutes. But I want to throw this one at you. And then we'll go ahead and we'll kind of wrap up high spots here for tonight. Here's what I want to throw at you.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll come up here on the screen momentarily.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that too. I wanted to get to this. As far as Moxley trying to suffocate Bryan Danielson. Okay, but once again, first off, I feel bad for Bryan Danielson because he's getting choked and suffocated in every damn promotion he goes to. He gets choked with a tie in WWE. He gets and for anybody that's saying that the reason he got fired from that was because of Chris Benoit, no, it wasn't. It was because of the freaking PG rating. So get the hell out of here. That being said, yeah, that was out of line too about Jon Moxley trying to suffocate Bryan Danielson. There is no reason that has to be. Is it great shock value? Sure. Did any of us expect that? I know I sure as hell didn't. Luke, let me ask you this. Did you have on your bingo card for All Out Bryan Danielson being suffocated with a literal bag in the middle of the ring by Jon Moxley? Did you have that?
I'm gonna level with you. I don't have suffocating him with the bag. I'm gonna tell you right now, I did have, if you're going to play the bingo card avenue, I
Starting
did have on the bingo card that I could see Moxley kind of being his own person.
And that's fine. That is fine. To me, it's not about the fact Moxley. Look, we have seen God knows how many heel turns in professional wrestling in your years and my years and all of our years combined. The issue is the fact of how they had to go about it. Now, we have seen some really crazy ones in the past. But you're really going to tell me that the one you think would be best for the company is to suffocate somebody who has a wife and a daughter live on pay-per-view? I mean, are we being serious? And yes, on the same show that featured the staple gun, the syringe, which you can make the debate is worse than the freaking chair shot. You can honestly make that debate. I will not be, I'm going to tell you right now. Look, I know the Wrestling Observer newsletter can be, Uncle Dave and how he is with his ratings. But I will not be surprised if that match is voted worst match of the year because of what happened in that match. And I also will not be surprised if the most disgusting promotional tactic is Tony Khan constantly saying that they're the safest promotion and then proceeding to show why they're not. So I'm done with this. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm excited. I know we got Jim Roberts waiting. I'm ready.
Well, Jeremy, before we get too much farther along, let's go ahead real quick here and thank our great sponsors for what's going on. But before we do, I do want to share something with you. And I don't know what it is. Again, I know that we've had a lot of people take care of what needs to be done here. I want to throw a couple things out here. Number one, and I want to bring these back up because this guy's gone. Who's this guy?
Hell if I know. Hell if I care.
But one thing I find interesting is we're talking about the whole situation with Bryan Danielson and what's happened. And then look who shows up after that.
Oh, boy.
I thought we had a great time talking about things, and now they're around, and it's just, yeah. I think it's time that we end the high spot segment. But you know something? Before we get too much farther along, Jeremy, if you would be so kind, can you go ahead and bring up the sponsors? I'm going to go ahead and make sure we acknowledge our great sponsors here.
All right, folks.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Wrestle Talk Podcast would like to thank all of our great sponsors. Royal Mill Transportation in Kansas City. If you need wheels, check out the CEO, Dewan Mills. He'll get you around Kansas City. Royal Mills Transportation, Nobleman's Barber Lounge, Kansas City, Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media with our good friend, the one, the only, the Maestro Jeremy Karp. Also, Little Popeye Designs, home of the great Wrestle Talk Podcast Tumblr. If you want to purchase one of those, make it a point to catch up with any of the members of the Wrestle Talk Podcast, and of course the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a level with you. If you've been living under a rock for the last couple weeks, last couple months, last couple years maybe, we need to make it a point, and we're going to be joined here in just a few moments by the one and only Jim Roberts. We're going to be talking a lot of professional wrestling here. But, Jeremy, we would be remiss. For those that want to know what's up, and we want to go ahead and make sure for all those that want to know what we've been talking about, we're going to go ahead and we're going to air a brief commercial. One of the favorite things we don't do here too often on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. But we want to make sure that you're aware of the big going on that's going to take place this Saturday afternoon as a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast. So, Maestro, if you be so kind, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a brief break here so you can kind of get caught up to speed as we talk about episode 500 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. And when we return, we'll be here with Jimmy Roberts from Professional Wrestling and from PWN and countless other promotions. We're going to talk a lot of pro wrestling, but let's go ahead and we're going to bring you a reminder of what's to come this Saturday afternoon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you saw what's going on this Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. on the east part of the country, Eastern Time Zone, 1 o'clock Central.
Yeah,
Wrestle Talk podcast. 500. Jeremy, the day that we've been talking about for over a decade. And it's right here on the horizon. And I got to tell you, you know something, Jeremy? When I've had the opportunity to be a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast many, many episodes ago, one of the first men that I had an opportunity to meet is our next guest. And as you see right here, Freddie Jack Funkhauser talking about John Holt, Yo10, a lot of great professional wrestling action. But when I first had the opportunity to join the Wrestle Talk podcast, I had an opportunity to meet this gentleman at a Dynamo Pro event. And since that point in time, I have to say that our next guest has formed a really strong connection with myself, with Big Sexy Chris Rodell, and to a fair degree with Dynamo Pro Wrestling. I remember having matches for the Ryan Buckley Memorial Tournament that took place inside Dynamo Pro Wrestling. And I'm going to tell you right now, as we near episode 500, I think it would only be fitting that we're right on the doorstep. This man is on the doorstep of two great upcoming events. Saturday, September 21st, as a part of PWN, Pro Wrestling Now, at the Petersburg Harvest Fest. And on Saturday, October 26th in Farmington, for the next show of NWR. A man who I consider a great friend, a pioneer in the professional wrestling industry, and it's going to make Carp mad, but oh well, a fellow Cubs fan. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor and privilege to bring onto the program, and you can go ahead and hit the music because the man deserves it. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Jim Roberts. It is music that he so richly deserves.
Well, allow me to... Oh.
Oh.
All right. Now that's fitting for a man the like of Jim Roberts, Jimmy D himself, the originator of innovative professional commentary. Jim, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I am doing great. I hope you guys can hear me okay.
You're good.
I love that introduction. I do have one question I've been watching since the beginning. And, you know, I saw that cat tree behind the maestro. Where's the cat? I need to see the cat. I need to see the cat. Look. Hold on.
Is this going to be a challenge right here?
We need cats on this podcast.
All right. You know what, Skywalker? I got you on this one. You go. Yeah, I'm gonna let you take this. I'll get the cat. Hopefully, I can grab it. You don't really like to be held, but.
All right, I'm just going to tell you right now, we've just taken this to a completely different level, Jim. And again, I know you were listening earlier on, and you saw how animated Jeremy got. Some, it might give him a few minutes to kind of cool things down. But I got to ask you, my friend, how you been doing? I mean, again, I know there's been a lot of things going on. We were talking before we went on the air. Jim and I are very dedicated fans of the wonderful folks of the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. And Jim,
and we share the same last name.
And I get, hey, Jeremy comes through.
Now this is a party.
Well, you know something, guys. We're here to talk PWN. We're here to talk NWR. And Jim, I got to level with you. You and I have been friends a long time. We know a lot about the world of professional wrestling. But you're kind of a little alone, and that's one thing that kind of concerned me. I mean, you're very knowledgeable about professional wrestling. I have no qualms about that. But usually, when I see you, I always see somebody at your side. I always see somebody that is learning the professional wrestling world from somebody with such a vast education as yourself.
Hey, I'm going to tell you what. I know the guy you're talking about. He's one of my best friends. He's my brother. And I'm going to tell you how much I love him, Luke. This guy's a Cardinals fan. And I still love him to death.
Wow. That's showing right there. Jim, you better watch it. Or that guy that we all know as Dwayne is going to come back out here, and he's going to have some choice words for you real soon. Okay, Jim, we got to teach Jeremy here. That was not Dwayne. That was the Iron Sheik. There's a difference between those two wrestling personas.
That was Dwayne. That was the Iron Sheik, and this is for you.
Oh my God!
Wow! Now that we're here, and we've got Jeremy all but fired up. I got to ask you, Jim. I mean, again, whenever we talk PWN, we talk about NWR. It always seems like you're not alone. But you know, I think it would only be fitting if your broadcast colleague joined me and my broadcast colleague here on the program. But from what I heard, I don't know. He kind of, I don't know. Were you able to get a hold of him? Because I didn't get too much of a reply.
Let me see if I can. I think I have the secret weapon that will get him out of his cave. You know, that's what he does when he's not putting wrestling shows on. He lives in a cave. I think I got the tool that'll get him out.
All right. Well, like I said, as our good friend Jimmy Roberts is taking care of things right here. He's
Jesse
going.
Matthews, are you here anywhere? Jesse, come on out. Oh, there he is. It's like
I've seen it all.
It's like
I have seen it all, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is the way it has to be. You got the STL, the Cards fans right here, and then you got them bums on the other side. Yeah,
that is so perfect. Can you make mine and Luke's screen like maybe a little bit bigger?
Hey,
you
my
can
mom
turn our
wouldn't let
volume,
me
and you can turn.
settle. My mom wouldn't let me settle for
Oh,
mediocrity, so I couldn't be a Cubs fan. She said no.
Oh, well, since I
Well,
got this out of the fridge, I might as well open it, right?
well, guys. I mean, again, first of all, it's an honor and privilege to have you on the show. And I mean, again, I know that we give each other a hard time here, but when it comes down to it, I mean, again, we got a lot of pro wrestling to talk about. And I mean, you guys have a couple of events that are going to be coming up here in just a few weeks. And again, another familiar face here,
James Brady,
James
my
Brady.
man. My
You know,
man.
it's one of those. I had an opportunity to see James Brady here just a few days ago, and like I said, I've heard rumors. Haven't heard anything concrete yet, but I've heard maybe we might see some more James Brady in the weeks and months to come. I mean, again, still a great competitor. He's been all around the country. I believe he spent some time out on the West Coast with groups like Santino Brothers and with the New Japan Dojo and other groups. I mean, I know that there's a lot still in the tank, and who knows, maybe we very well could be seeing James Brady back here in the Midwest sooner rather than later. And hold on one second, gentlemen. I'm trying to see here. We've got some breaking news. Maestro, before we get talking about the pro wrestling here, the Maestro having some breaking news here on the program. Maestro, you can go ahead here.
We have the breaking news that WWE Raw will be on. There will be, we're doing the 2-hour thing now. Well, we have an official airtime. It will start at 8 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern on starting Monday, October 7th through the rest of 2024. Of course, the finale will be December 30th. But we've been wondering all evening long about what the show is, or as far as its time, and it will be from 8 to 10 Eastern, so 7 to 9 Central.
All right. Again, that's one of those. Needed to share that with all the great viewers of the Wrestle Talk podcast here. Now, Jim, Jesse, we got a lot of pro wrestling to talk about. I know you guys are very familiar with the professional wrestling scene here in the Midwest, and we've got 2 events to talk about. The first one is Saturday, September 21st for PWN. And for those that are here in the Midwest, as you know, the Maestro and I are both here in the St. Louis area, both near you gentlemen. For those that aren't familiar with the PWN promotion, can you guys give us a little bit about what PWN is all about?
I'll take it if you don't care, Jim.
That'll be you, Jesse.
Okay, so PWN is it's the end of Proving Ground Pro. I mean, we folded a few years ago when the pandemic happened, and it was just kind of time for us to do something different, and I needed a break, and I was kind of burnt out with the wrestling, and as some people get, it's a lot of your time, especially when you're doing a lot of the things that Jim and I do for a company. So it just kind of started talking to Jim a little bit more than we normally do. We always catch up and see each other and try to catch a show or something like that. And then I had gone to some shows because I started to get the itch to do something again. And I didn't know what it would be, or I didn't know what form of something in wrestling that I would be doing. But I knew I wanted to do it with Jim because Jim's my guy. Like, he makes things easier. Like, he gets the social media part of it. He gets the electronic part of it. And I get the other part of it. So it's a great combination. And so I said, hey, I want to do something, but I don't know what. Then I was approached to do Harvest Fest again. 6 months after Proving Ground Pro folded, I had the name Pro Wrestling Now. I just knew that that's the way I wanted to go with it if I ever did it again. And then you get a notebook out and you start writing some things down, and then you see some guys at certain shows and you go, oh man, what I could do with that guy. Or, oh, they're not using that guy. They should be using this guy. Stuff like that. And that's how it kind of started to progress. And then I was approached to do Harvest Fest because we had done it in the past for Proving Ground Pro, and they knew I promoted wrestling. and I'd taken a little time off from the fair shows that Jim and I had just kind of kept the fair show, and we were doing it, and we had taken a little time off. And I said, yes, I can do it. And then I was approached like maybe a couple days later for the next show. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And they said, do you have a name? And I said, yes, I have a name. And then I got immediately on the phone to Jim, and I called him and I said, hey man, that thing I wanted to do in wrestling, it's going to be Pro Wrestling Now. And we're going to do that. And he's like, let's go. That was it. That's from then on. It was, who do we know that can help us out and do a couple things that we don't know how to do? Cause like, we're not the best at graphics. So like the match announcements, a longtime fan and friend of ours, Debbie Gass, made those. And then the match announcements came from our ring announcer, Rob Leach, who will probably be our head commentary guy in this situation. So it's a real team effort, and that's what you need to make these things succeed. And then Jim asked where I wanted to go with this, and I wanted to feature talent that not everybody features, and I want to feature some talent that people do feature. Some of them I want to feature in a different way, and I want to help some kids along the way. And that's where I'm at in wrestling. Like, it's not monetary gain is awesome because it's going to help you make the product better. But for me, what I'm gaining is making people better. And Jim was all about it. So I couldn't ask for a better road dog.
Most definitely. And Jim, I'm going to throw this to you. I mean, again, you and Jesse have known each other for years. I mean, you and I have had countless conversations about how professional wrestling is and how, I mean, again, I'll level with you. You guys have a lot of similarities to myself and Big Sexy Chris Rodell. I mean, we've traveled all over the place. We talk about wrestling all the time. We know what each other's thinking. We know when people have kind of been pushed to that limit. And Jesse, thank you for being very real with that, because in professional wrestling, we do get to a point where sometimes, as much as we love professional wrestling, there's just times when you go on tilt and you're in your mind and you just, you can't put everything together. It's like you're giving everything you can to it. And then it's just to a point where you just, the tank's empty. And
absolutely.
And it's one of those, when you sit here and you look at it, I mean, again, you two guys have known each other for a long time. And Jim, I'd be remiss when we're talking about PWN, Pro Wrestling Now. What would you say has been the biggest change over the last few months, going from where you have been to where you are now?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is really, I mean, PWN is going to be a brand new adventure for me. You know, we're doing our first show at the Harvest Fest, and I feel for both me and Jesse, even though Jesse lives closer to the area, but this is going to be kind of a homecoming for us. And, you know, when it comes to the talent, I'm familiar with the talent. This is just going to be something new and exciting for me. And I tell you right now, I would not do this if I wasn't working with Jesse. I would be probably sitting home drinking a beer somewhere. This the only reason I really wanted to do this was to work with Jesse. Like I put out on Facebook, I put out those little teasers. You know, the band is back together. You know, we first of all, Jesse's not giving himself enough credit, because what he's not telling you is, with the Pro Wrestling Now thing, he put this show together, I mean, like in a couple weeks. You know, it takes a long time. It takes a long time to put on a good quality show. I can guarantee you on the 21st, we're going to have a good quality show. This man put this. Can I cuss here?
Yeah, you can go. I mean, again, that's why we
hang on. I don't know how much of the show Jim's tuned into, but I mean, if he heard me during the high spots, you're more than welcome to cuss on here.
This guy put on like a fucking grade A show in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
And that's not a small accomplishment here. And I'm gonna level with you guys. I want to share a little story here. And Jesse, I know you've known Jim for a long time, just like I have. Jim, your story about how just sometimes it's more motivating for some to sit on the couch, watch a good Cubs game or Cardinals game, have a cold beverage. I remember years and years ago, I had a promoter, again, spur of the moment kind of thing, call me and basically say that he needed a referee. Like, okay. It's just like you said, Jesse, you do a favor for somebody because you don't know how it's going to come back and help you down the road.
Right.
And I remember Cowboy Bob Orton being on the event. And I remember one of the comments that was made, and to this day, it still holds true to me. Him and Greg Valentine were both in the center of the ring, and I'm the third man. And I hear Valentine yelling at him and talking a bunch of trash. And he's like, if I really wanted to do something important, I wouldn't wrestle you. I'd sit on my couch and have a cold beverage and watch the Cardinals play. And if you're going to get somebody like Greg Valentine fired up, that's the way you're going to do it. And like I said, as you see here, our good friend Jim Harris, I mean, again, a man that you both know, it's just overwhelming at times just to deal with all the things that go from day to day and getting things taken care of here. And again, coming back for things like the Hall of Fames and things like that, really kind of stand to the testament of both of your loves and drives for professional wrestling. Now, Jesse, Jim, I want to ask you, because again, we're talking about Saturday, September 21st in Petersburg at the Harvest Fest. My question to you is this. We're just a couple weeks out now. Which match? And I figure you're both going to have different answers here. So we'll start with Jesse on this. Jesse, if you had one match for fans that want to come see pro wrestling now, what one match do you think has the potential of stealing the show at the Petersburg Harvest Fest?
Okay, I'm going to give you the one match that I think will steal the show, but I'm going to give you another match after. So okay. The match I think that'll steal the show is the main event. That's why it's the main event. Okay. Like Moses is ready to be a guy. And I think more people need to see that and they need to experience that because he's the best of what's good about the old school and what's good about the new school. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen a kid incorporate what's new and what Harley clearly could have taught him all in the same way. And then listen and add things and get better all the time. And then then you have his opponent, and like we're talking about the Cardinals versus the Cubs, and you know Moses is a St. Louis area guy, he's a Missouri guy, and then you have Gunnar Brave, who is a Metro Chicago area fella who is tearing it up. I mean, he is one of the best young talents you'll see anywhere, and they both get it. They're both main eventers, and it's time that people see it. The other match go ahead.
Oh, well, I got to say this right now, and you talk about Moses, and you talk about both men in this main event matchup for PWN on the 21st. I'm going to tell you right now, I know a lot of people know Moses as Moses the Deliverer, and from what you've already said, this match, I have to agree with you. It's going to deliver. I mean, both these men are phenomenal in-ring competitors. And again, if you're going to look at a matchup from that show, definitely one of those to look at. Now, you talked about the other match, and I apologize for kind of cutting in there. I thought it was a little bit kind of a play on words. But looking at your other matchup that you want to focus on, let's go ahead and kind of talk about that one as well.
Well, I love tag team wrestling. So I wanted to give people that aspect of things too. And the Kingdom Boys versus Reeves and Ambrose could be the match that people go, oh my God, they stole the show. Like they just stole it. They flat out took it put it in their back pocket and ran out the back door like they're still in the purse. Because it's been a long time since I've seen a tag team like the Kingdom Boys that I get really, really, really excited about. They remind me of a team that I used to use in the past that I feel like is one of the best tag team that's ever set foot in the Midwest, and that's Zero Gravity. Except for these guys were born together and have that brother instinct. Like CJ Esparza and Brett Gakia were the closest thing I've ever seen to two guys that aren't related, know exactly what the other one is thinking in person. Besides, the Rock and Roll Express or something like that, what you watch as a child growing up, but like to see it and go, oh, they don't even talk to each other. The Kingdom Boys are definitely a tag team that don't have a lot of tape on them yet. There's not a lot of matches, but people are going to see over the next year that they're probably going to be one of the best tag teams going in any area.
Well, and Jesse, I want to go ahead and throw this out here. And I've had many conversations with the Maestro on this. That's one thing that's always been good about the St. Louis area and the bi-state is there have been so many great teams. And you talk about Zero Gravity. Other teams that pop into my head, guys like High Level Enterprise, Jack Gamble and John Webb. Guys like the Bum Rush Brothers, the Don Mega, Shorty Biggs, and Outcast.
Oh, God, yeah, fantastic, especially when they're in their prime.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, again, guys like the Black Hand Warriors, guys like the Professionals, guys like the Junkies for Fame. I mean, that's one thing that really, and I mean, I could go on and on and on about great tag teams here. The Ego Express was another one that really stood out to me back in the day.
Irish Airborne.
Irish Airborne. Very true, Jim. Very true.
I always love those guys.
And there's just so many great tag teams. And again, the opportunity, when you see good tag team wrestling, it takes you back to a time that a lot of people don't know. And one of the things, and I don't mean this as a slight to my broadcast colleague, Jeremy Karp, but we've had a lot of conversations. And Jeremy, when he first got into the wrestling industry, and Jeremy, you'll admit it, you were very new school. You were very ruthless aggression era. You were very much that 05, 06 into the early teens.
Well, yeah, that's when I first, as much of a historian as I was, or much as I loved looking up wrestling history and everything. Yeah, I started watching wrestling weekly at the end of 05 and in 06.
But Jeremy, as you said, when you came in and you finally got the opportunity to be behind a microphone and getting to see teams like, as you said, Jesse, the Rock and Roll Express, the Ivan Koloff and Ivan and Nikita Koloff. You look at teams like the Midnight Express, the Rockers, the Hart Foundation. The Rougeos are another one to throw in there. There are a lot of great tag teams. When you get a great tag team match taking place, it's very easy to be taken back to wrestling as it was 30, 40 years ago. And you can just be captivated by what those four individuals can do.
That's my goal. I mean, when we do a show, is to captivate you enough to suspend disbelief for 2 hours of your life. Just to whether it's your dad remembering, Wahoo McDaniel or J. Mark Youngblood or, the Rougeos or anything that he might remember from his past, Bockwinkel and Stevens, compared to your granddad who might remember even more, or the kid that just got into it because CM Punk and Drew McIntyre are killing it, or Cody Rhodes got him into the product, or he got into it in 05 because of ruthless aggression. That's the best thing about wrestling is don't yuck on somebody else's yum. Mm-hmm. And it's Baskin Robbins. There's 31 flavors. Your flavor doesn't have to be everybody else's flavor. And Jim, I know, is going to name some matches, or he's going to name, I can almost bet up my everything I have that I know what match he's looking forward to the most. But that's what the whole card is it's, Bull Bronson and Richards are not an everyday tag team. They're Mid-South personified. Like, they do death matches and they wrestle old school Mid-South, and they're going to tell you a story and fight you in a bar if you need them to. And then they're going to face the O'Neills, who remind me of like a tag team like the Nasty Boys or somebody like that would, you know, like they would have been guys back in the day. They're big, they're agile enough, and they're brawlers, and it's not the same as the other tag teams. So it's just an eclectic mix. And it's like what you say, it can remind you of something of your past, or it may remind you of something present.
Well, you know, Jesse, I want to throw another tag team. When I see the O'Neills, I see and Jeremy, I'm not talking about Wyndham and Bradshaw. I'm talking about the team of the Blackjacks, that being Lanza and Mulligan. Right. Those two guys strike me as two that you don't want to cross on a Saturday night, because you may wind up in the hospital if you're on the wrong side of facing the O'Neills. I mean, that's just a given.
Yeah, a lot of old school.
Oh yeah.
Guys.
They remind me of a tag team in the Carolinas now that worked for AML a lot and had a little stint with the NWA, and that's the Dawsons. They are a big, rugged, nasty tag team.
And again, it's one of those where when you sit there and look at it, I mean, again, these two matches right here, if you're in the Petersburg area on the 21st, that's, like I said, a little more than a week's time, you need to make it a point to go to the Petersburg Harvest Fest and catch PWN. Now, Jim, I know that we gave Jesse first dibs, but I want to know from you, from the experience side, from the Cubs side of the podcast this evening, what match are you most looking forward to?
Well, you know, Jesse kind of touched on this already. You know, we're talking about wrestling history, and you know, I'm like 400 years old. I grew up on the East Coast, and my introduction to wrestling was the big guys and the violent guys like Ox Baker.
Yeah.
Guys like Dick the Bruiser. You know, the tag team champions of the WWF at the time, the Executioners. I loved the violence. I loved the big guys. I am really looking forward to Heartland Heat versus the O'Neill brothers. Speaking of big guys, and I know this is what Jesse was touching on earlier, the big man is back. The big man is coming to Petersburg. Baracus. Again,
that's what I wanted to talk about.
Florida.
Well, I'm going to throw this at you, Jim. You said that name, and instantly the maestro perks up.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I'm gonna give the floor to you here.
Matter of fact, I think the last time, Luke, that I saw you was at a show where Baracus was on the card. And if you remember, I was the only one in the whole building cheering for Baracus because, number one, you know, well, really two reasons. Number one, because I love his work. Number two, because he scares the shit out of me. And just so happened that the camera came by, and I just looked at the camera and said, finally, a champion that these people deserve, that a champion that these people can be proud of. To which Baracus put his arm around me, looked in the camera, says, I love this guy. He's been with me since the start. Now get the hell out of my way, you stink, and threw me into a chair. I love Baracus.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, gentlemen, and this was one of the very first lessons I taught Jeremy Carp behind the commentary table, and you both have been behind the commentary table. You know how it is. Jeremy, I think you can finish this. The late, great Bobby Heenan made this comment. I shared this with you a long time ago. If you tell me to look out, who are you going to be talking to? I stumped him. If you turn around and you tell me to look out, that's okay, because you're going to be talking to yourself. Ooh. And that's exactly the case with Baracus. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you, Jeremy, because I know that when that name pops up in any professional wrestling promotion, that draws your attention. So, Jeremy, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to you.
So this is the thing. I wanted to first ask how you guys were able to get Baracus on, because I've known him a while. That's one of the reasons I did get excited. I've known him for a few years. And I mean, he and I definitely go back at Pro Wrestling Epic as well. That's around just the whole St. Louis area. And I saw, I've seen him wrestle in 0-1. So to have him as a part of this big event for Pro Wrestling Now is just fantastic.
I had to promise him a jumbo bacon cheeseburger from Darcy's. That was the only. That was one of the stipulations.
One of the.
If you didn't know, Jim's trying to get sponsored by Darcy's so he can just have once a month.
Jim, I'm gonna cry.
I am a huge fan of Baracus because he reminds me of like the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, like almost into the Attitude Era of stuff I grew up with. I mean, so when I knew we were going to do something, he's one of the first guys I reached out to try to be able to get him on the show because I know he's booked a lot. And then I'm excited for this match because Florida Man's crazy good too and is on Dreamwave a lot. So it's just, I mean, it's not modern wrestling. So don't come out thinking they're going to throw a gazillion super kicks and do all that stuff. It's just one good bad man.
That is the stuff I grew up on right there. These four are going to, well, Baracus especially, and the tag team match we was talking about, they're just going to beat the hell out of each other. They're just going to beat the hell out of each other. I'm going to love every second of it.
So,
and go ahead. No, go ahead.
So this is my thing. Yeah, I know the O'Neal brothers too. I mean, you're getting Heartland Heat. Or you're putting the O'Neal brothers in the ring with Heartland Heat. Now, wait a minute. This is, you guys do realize, I get it. It's your first show. It's a big show. You guys realize you're entering dangerous territory here, right?
Yes.
Hey, first of all, Jesse's going to be over at the commentary table. I'm the poor sap that's got to stand there right next to a ring holding the camera. This could be my last show. I could die during this show, but at least I'll die happy, right?
The match can break out. Luke, you and I have done commentary together for years. And, I've been doing Pro Wrestling Epic for a couple years now. I just called the match in Pinckneyville where Heath Slater took the fight to ringside right at the commentary table. Look, Jesse's not any more safe than anybody else in that building or in that festival. I'm just going to say it right now. When it comes to professional wrestling and a violent match such as what you guys got in store with Heartland Heat and the O'Neal brothers, all bets are off.
I'm hoping that the Shane show is paying the O'Neals enough money to keep them under control. I'm not going to lie. I'm hoping that he is giving them enough money as his talent that he can tell them what to do. And I know for a fact we can keep the Shane show in check because if we have to, we'll hit him where it hurts, and that's in money.
Now, there's another guy. Now, there's another match I wanted to talk about, and that's Nick Nolan versus Jake Bosch. Now, Jake Bosch has been under the tutelage for quite a while of Ben Trust. And first off, his birthday was, I believe, yesterday or 2 days ago, so happy belated birthday there, Ben. I'll be having to deal with him this Saturday at Pops. Now, Jake Bosch, this is the thing. Extremely talented, extremely cocky. Do you guys have methods or any type of security or anything in place to make sure his partner, Scott Stanley, does not interfere in this matchup?
Well, I'm hoping that I was not lied to or misled, that Scott Stanley will not be in the area for this one, that it will be Jake coming by himself solo for a change. You never know with Jake because he does run with Benny the Jet, and he does run with Scott Stanley. But he has a very tough opponent. So if he has like shenanigans or something else on his mind, he should probably make sure that he's still focused on the guy that's in front of him.
Yeah, so if I'm Nick Nolan, so that brings me to my next question. Look, obviously Jake Bosch easily has tricks up his sleeve. Benny the Jet Trust could always be there. Scott Stanley could even show up. So what does Nick Nolan have to do, knowing that is probably in the back of his head this whole time?
Well, I mean, Nolan is nobody to be trampled with. I mean, you never know what he's up to. I mean, he's a sinister dude. Like, he's always usually 1 or 2 steps ahead of his opponent. Like, he's a thinking man's wrestler. He's not all just show and go. He has the mind for it, and he was trained by an exceptional school. So he's main eventing a lot of different places and has really stepped his game up over the last couple of years. And this may be Jake's toughest task without Stanley in his corner or Ben in his corner.
Oh, this absolutely, to me, I feel like would be the toughest task. He's taken part in multiple triple threat matches, obviously tag team matches, goes without saying, and he's extremely talented. He's also very young still in the business. And while people need to realize youth doesn't always mean innovation. And it is something that Jake needs to understand, that even though he's learned from one of the greats in Ben Trust, that doesn't mean he himself has already become one of the greats. And getting into this matchup with Nick Nolan, Jesse, you hit the nail on the head right there. Like, he needs to absolutely watch out, because one wrong move and it's game over.
Well, and we're a new promotion. Like, this is our first show. It's free, by the way. Like, we're not even charging for this. Like, you come to Petersburg, you bring a lawn chair. There'll be probably limited seating. You're going to get to see all of the stuff we mentioned absolutely for nothing.
So that's another thing. So I understand a lot of people are going to look at you guys and probably laugh at the fact that you're not charging. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now hear me out on this. Every promotion does free shows at some point or another. To have your debut show be a free show, and keep in mind, I wanted to, it's in Petersburg, Illinois, and only a couple thousand people in Petersburg. And we're talking about 2 hours away from St. Louis. There's a lot of people that'll have a lot of question marks about the potential success of the show. What do you have to say to those doubters?
I said, why not give it away for free? Like, we're part of a festival. We're part of something that's going on in the town where I'm from. I wanted to bring something fun to my community that haven't seen it. Oh, they don't see it all the time. They haven't seen this at all. And I thought, well, what better way than to do a festival show, which is free, to give people the opportunity to introduce themselves to pro wrestling now. Now you can see the product. You can see what we're going to put out for you. We're going to see the quality in which we're going to give you. And you don't have to pay anything for it the first time. We're like a hit of crack. It's free the first time.
If I can interject too, when it comes to Petersburg and the old company that Jesse and I used to work, we just got like a love relationship. Here I am. I'm in Decatur, Illinois. I'm like 2.5 hours away from Petersburg, but I still consider Petersburg home, at least my second home. And I mean, what better way to start a company by coming back home to Petersburg, to Harvest Fest? There's been so many great moments in Harvest Fest. Hell, our good buddy Renee was actually a guest ring announcer. Was it the last time, Jesse?
I think it might have been the last ever Harvest Fest that Proving Ground Pro ever did.
Yeah. I believe that was show Renee did the guest ring announcing for.
Very true, gentlemen. And like I said, I'm a level with you, pulling that curtain back. I talked with Renee at the tail end of last week, and one of the things we talked about was that event. And he talked about how the memories of being in the locker room for those kind of events, especially with you two gentlemen being in positions of authority within the promotion. It's definitely a promotion that you want to be a part of, because you guys, as you already mentioned here, you guys bring the best in professional wrestling. And it's like John Bon Jovi says, who says you can't go home?
That's right.
And I know for you, Jim, for you, Jesse, Petersburg is basically like a second home. And why not have the debut show of Pro Wrestling Now live at the Petersburg Harvest Fest?
Now you did remind Renee that he is going to bring me and Jesse back some of the tequila with the worm, right? When he gets back.
Well, like I said, I do know for a fact that was discussed. I know that writer was there. I do know full well, and Jim, I'm a level with you and Jesse. We have the big to-do this coming Saturday ourselves as a part of episode 500. And Jesse, Jim, I want to ask you here before we kind of move on here. I want you to kind of be a little bit reflective, because Jim, you've been a part of the Wrestle Talk family for a long time. Jesse, I know you have as well. What are your thoughts of the Wrestle Talk podcast making such a milestone of 500 episodes?
I think it's terrific. Man, I mean, I'm so happy for you guys. So proud of you guys. Matter of fact, I'm going to assume that next week you're going to have a who's who of guests, people saying hi. I know I shot a video. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you a little funny story. This is how fast that Pro Wrestling Now came about. I had actually shot a video at a show, congratulating you guys on 500th show, where I said something to the extent of, "This is Jimmy D, formerly of PGP, now the New Wrestling Revolution." 5 minutes after I shot that video, all of a sudden, Pro Wrestling Now is a thing. That's how fast the thing came along.
Well, I think it's special because you guys don't get to milestones like that all the time. Like, not every podcast is going to get there, and you guys have put your heart and soul into this. In the wrestling business, they say blood, sweat, and tears. We used to say in PGP, did you moan the blues? Did you strum them guitar strings? You know what I mean? You guys have done that. You've done the work, and so it's exciting to get to see somebody that we love so much get the recognition and really hit a milestone that a lot of people don't get to hit, especially in the podcasting realm.
And gentlemen, again, to give you an idea, and I'm just going to lay it out there, because Carp and I talked about it before we went live this evening. If you have an opportunity, and I know there's a lot of things going on in the next few days, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be in the beautiful area of Pekin, Illinois next weekend. The bustling metropolis, if you will, of Pekin, Illinois.
So that's 45 minutes from where we're doing our show.
Exactly. And I've had an opportunity to be in Petersburg on several occasions. I got some family friends that live in Petersburg.
Yeah, you just missed a great show in Pekin.
Yeah. It's one of those things right now. If you get the opportunity and you are, and this is a Luke Roberts endorsement here. So you those that are a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast family, you can take this to heart. If you're even within an hour of the Petersburg Harvest Festival next week on the 21st, on Saturday, September 21st, you need to come out and catch Pro Wrestling Now. You are not going to be disappointed. You're going to have a great time. These two gentlemen consistently deliver the best in professional wrestling each and every time that they've ever stepped in a ring. And Jesse, I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes down to it, I know that the first one is free as a part of the festival. But I'm going to tell you right now, I hope you got something in the pocket, because it might be time next time that Jim, he's wanting that kind of hazard pay. You might have to have some kind of an incentive to make sure that he just make sure that he comes back in one piece. So
I know it's not 500, Luke. Okay,
Mhm.
so, but we've always saved something big for Renee. We've always saved something big for the Wrestle Talk podcast. Before you guys get to Jim and NWR, because I'll probably leave you a little bit because I have a couple things to do, and I know you guys want to talk NWR because it's good stuff, and Jim is killing it. But I talked to Jim beforehand, and he thought that maybe we should break the news here. Rob's working on the graphic. It'll be up soon. We'll announce it on the Facebook and do all of that. But right now, Wrestle Talk
Exclusive, guys.
November 9th, Greenview, Illinois, at the Greenview High School, a fundraiser for the school. Bulldog Brawl, that'll be our second show. It'll be awesome. Tickets front row are $15. General admission will be $10.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. An exclusive from Pro Wrestling Now for the Wrestle Talk podcast. November 9th. Make it a point to check them out. The second event, raising money for the high school, making sure that they were going to be able to provide, again, great events at the school. And again, I want to say thank you for sharing that with us here as part of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Now, Jesse, I know you got a lot of things to do. You and Jim are both very busy men. But I want to level with you. Jim told me a long time ago that he feels that while he's taught you everything you know,
Oh, no.
he hasn't taught you everything he knows. Now, as you know, as a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast, and we're going to take a minute here, and we're going to talk about NWR in just a few minutes. But right now, we're going to go ahead. We're going to kind of mix up the format a little bit, and we're going to see if you both would be willing, gentlemen, to see if the student has surpassed the teacher with a little thing we call the world-famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. Now, I'm going to level with you. Jim put out the challenge, so I know he's ready.
I didn't even know about this challenge.
All right, basically what it is, it's a trivia contest between you and your broadcast colleague.
Okay.
Are you ready to do that? Okay, we'll tell you what.
Jesse's going to wipe the floor with me on this one.
Oh, no, Jim. Trust me. I think you still got a lot of the cards still in your hand. Maestro, if you'd be so kind to hit the intro music for the world-famous Wrestle Talk podcast Game Show Challenge.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. And this evening's host, since we have two amazing guests that are going to be competing, will be the one, the only Luke Skywalker Roberts.
Yay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's installment of the world-famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls and features the one and only Jesse Matthews and Jim Roberts, Jimmy D, both from PWN. Now, gentlemen, you both consider yourself professional wrestling connoisseurs. You know a lot about the world of professional wrestling. Tonight, I'm going to give you questions, 3 questions, as a matter of fact, about a particular professional wrestling topic. When you think you know the answer, shout out your answer. The one to get 2 out of 3 falls will win tonight's contest. Now, gentlemen, considering that you both have spent time with the camera and behind the microphone, I felt it only fitting that tonight's Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge is professional wrestling announcers. I will give you information on 3 individuals who had an extensive period of time behind the microphone. Again, when you think you know the answer, shout out your answer. First one to get 2 out of 3 falls wins tonight's game show challenge. Jesse, are you ready?
As I'm ever going to be.
Jim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. This individual spent a great deal of time behind the microphone in both the WWE and TNA. This was all after being a finalist in the inaugural season of Tough Enough.
It's Josh Matthews.
Josh Matthews is correct. The first fall goes to Jesse.
All right, I'm ready.
Jim, are you ready for the second fall?
I was distracted. My cat distracted me. My cat that's in the other room distracted me.
I've been training your cat to distract you this whole time.
You know what? Jim is making sure that the cat runs interference so that the referee doesn't see any kind of shenanigans that go on. So we're good to go. All right, gentlemen, it is now time for the second question. This individual has spent a great deal of time behind the microphone.
Robbie Lee.
No. In his career, he has spent time in the NWA, the WWF, and Impact Wrestling. Most recently, you can catch him every Wednesday night on Dynamite.
JR.
Name him.
Good old JR.
Tony Schiavone.
Jim, you are incorrect. The correct answer was Tony Schiavone. I figured that would have been a potential one for you, Jim. But Jesse coming through. He's got 2 falls. Now,
Schiavone had
Jesse,
that short run that people forget about.
Yeah.
Well, Jesse, I want to throw this one at you.
Okay.
Right now, you've won the first 2 falls. Technically, you've won tonight's contest. My question to you is, are you ready for the possibility of sweeping tonight's game show challenge?
Yeah, I'm all for this. Let's do this.
I'm betting on him. So.
All right. Well, here we go. It's the third and final fall. This individual.
Now, if I know this, can I still jump in?
Yeah.
Okay.
This individual spent countless years behind the microphone. His career landed him in many professional wrestling Hall of Fames, including WCW and the WWE. His signature line was "Goodbye from the Sunshine State."
Gordon Soley.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the sweep is complete. Matthews with the victory. 3 falls to none. Jeremy, if you can hit that victory music for Jesse.
Do I get like a lifetime supply of Turtle Racks or something?
No, we got a special. Hang on. We got a special thing for you, Jim.
In all fairness to Jim,
Got him! Got him!
Well, you know something, Jim, as we said before, if this was several years ago, you would have gotten your case of Rice-A-Roni, your 3 cases of Turtle Wax, and you would have gotten some kind of a gift certificate to a local store. But unfortunately, we had to cut those parts of the budget. So that was about all you're going to get. With that going on, Jesse, for those that want more information or want to get more information about the Pro Wrestling Now event taking place on Saturday, September 21st, how can they get more information?
you can get more information on Facebook, on the X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it now, Instagram. We're on most social media platforms like that. Jim is always trying to find creative ways to help promote the show. So look for a couple more video packages similar to the one that he did for Baracus on all our social media platforms too. So, I mean, that's pretty much where you can find us.
Matter of fact, it could be as soon as tomorrow.
And again, you're getting all the great info here as a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Now, Jesse, before we let you go, we want to say thank you for joining us here tonight on episode 499 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. And again, we want to make sure that you are a very welcome part of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. We want to say thank you for coming on the program tonight. Thank you for sharing the information regarding upcoming PWN events. And also, I want to level with you. You guys have been great and good friends for many, many years, and I feel very fortunate to consider you both friends, and I want to say thank you for coming on the program here tonight, talking about PWN, and I look forward to hearing great things when we talk about, and we're going to talk about things again with you before we get to November 9th, and we talk about the next PWN event. But again, I want to say thank you for coming on the program, and I look forward to talking with you again real soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great rest of your night. Enjoyed the talk with Jim about NWR, and I'm excited for you guys' 500th show.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Matthews from PWN joining us here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Now, Jim, if we've got the cheers going, we got them for Jesse, we've got them for you.
Listen to that crowd pop. Listen to
Very
that
much
crowd
so. Very much so. Jeremy, you know, we got to make it a point next time we have a meeting with Renee that we have to have that version and the WWE edit, where basically you hear about every.
Yeah, so here, I got that one. No, Renee gave me that one too. Watch.
Okay, we know where it is now. Now, Jim, we got just a couple more minutes with you here this evening, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about NWR. I mean, again, if you look at the graphic, and Jeremy, can you go ahead and throw the graphic up one more time of our good friend Jimmy D, Jim Roberts here? We're going to go ahead and throw this up here because when it comes down to it, and our production team made it a point to get the graphic up here, and of course, right across the center of the shirt, NWR. I know we've got an event coming up in October, Jim, regarding NWR. Can you give us a little bit of information about this event? I know it's going to be in Farmington in October. For those that are going to be in that immediate area, can you give us a little bit about what NWR is going to bring to the table in October?
Well, the show, it's going to be on October 26th. It is going to be at the Farmington, Illinois Event Center, which is actually not too far from the Petersburg area. It's going to be a fundraiser show to help the Farmington Police Department purchase a new canine. Brian and Kevin, I love these guys. If I could kind of go back a little bit, let you know how I got started with New Wrestling Revolution. You know, I'm not going to say retired, but I was taking a little sabbatical after PGP folded up. And then I saw this, I was approached by a couple guys that, hey, we want to start this promotion in your hometown of Decatur. Would you want to, do cameras? I was like, do a show, get paid, and the whole travel time is 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back. I mean, where do I sign, right? Plus, their inaugural show, they had Awesome Kong there. They had people from TNA there. I couldn't say no. I was only going to do one show. I fell in love with them. They fell in love with me. And we did our first show in March, our second show in April. This is all in Decatur, Illinois. The third show in June. And we got to the building in June, and we're sitting up, and we're like, where's the controls for the air conditioner? It's kind of hot in here. That's when we found out that this building had no air conditioning in there. By this time, I was so hooked that when we got our now obviously we're in Farmington, Illinois, and I mean, I love it. I'll travel up there. We have got for this fundraiser. You guys are familiar with the OVW documentary they did on Netflix. We got Ari Alexander, who is a big part of that. She's been on Impact, TNA, whatever they're calling it this day. I'm Kid Riot, our heavyweight champion. Are you guys familiar with Kid Riot?
I believe so. A very accomplished professional wrestler.
He's been a staple out here in Central Illinois. He's actually, been branching out. Just made his debut over at I've got to say it like this, the world famous Berwyn Eagles Club. He's been all over the place. He's just so much fun to watch. If you like lucha libre, that's your guy. If you like hard hitting, just I'm gonna kick your ass outside the ring, that's Kid Riot. He's one of those well-rounded. He's got it all. He's going to be defending his championship that night. We're going to have our tag team champions, and they are known as Depravity, Napier, and Limbo. With they've got this valet, so to speak. She's kind of a valet, but she has been known to kind of get involved when the referee's not, paying attention. And Jinx is just, I don't know how to describe her, because I'm looking at her one minute, I was like, this little girl is just cute as a button, I just want to go up and pinch her cheeks. And the next minute she's biting somebody, she's low blowing, she's giving somebody a low blow, she's just beating the hell out of a 300-pound guy. I'm like, okay, that girl scares the shit out of me. We're gonna have Adam Black, the All-Star champion, returning, and the guy that I like, he's out, I think, from the Tennessee area. I could be wrong on this, but a guy that really impressed me, Draven Lee. He reminds me so much of, if you put Bruiser Brody and Rob Zombie had a kid, that's Draven Lee.
Wow, that's a visual, Jim.
Yeah, he is a scary badass. And so that's going to be on Saturday night, October 26th. It's going to be at the Farmington, Illinois Event Center, and it's for a good cause to get a K-9 for the Farmington Police Department. And I'll tell you what, the police, I don't know if you saw the video I put up a couple months ago. The police have been more than good to us. We did an outdoor show where we had Depravity, who they wrestle in face paint with kilts against a team called, I believe it was the Blackguards, which they're pretty big, scary looking guys too. And the fight went out of the ring into the oh yeah. And I should also mention that one of them has a luchador mask on. Fight went out into the grass, and somebody actually called the police department and reported a riot. I'm like, okay, there's a wrestling ring right there. There's 4 guys, and 2 of them in lucha masks, 2 of them in kilts. Okay, and basically that started our good relationship with the police department. And so we're going to help them out, and we hope everybody comes out and supports them and sees some good wrestling.
Well, Jim, I'm going to tell you right now, you and I have been to a lot of events, been to a lot of places, we've seen a lot of people. And when you mention the idea, and Barbie, thanks for joining us here tonight on the Wrestle Talk podcast.
Oh, hi, Barbie.
Yeah, when you sit here and you look at it, Jim, a blast from the past, a name that reminds me of the individual we talked about, man by the name of Dirty Jake Durden.
Oh, I love Dirty Jake. How can you not love Dirty Jake Durden?
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I personally have no issues with Dirty Jake Durden. My broadcast colleague, the Maestro Jeremy Cart, has no issues with Dirty Jake Durden. Our broadcast colleague, Chris Rodell, last time those two were in a room, he kind of threw a pretty noticeable amount of water and such in his face. And Chris,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, Chris didn't endear himself too much to Jake Durden, but I'm going to tell you right now, October 26th, if you're in the Farmington area, you make it a point to stop by and check out NWR. They've been doing a lot of great things. Make it a point to stop by, check them out. You will not be, just like with PWN on the 21st, on October 26th, you are going to be in for a great night of professional wrestling action. And Jim, before we let you go, I've got to ask you this. And this is from one longtime member of the professional wrestling family to another. If you had one piece of advice to give to someone like a Maestro Jeremy Carp, among others, like a Gabriel Arsene, who's just joined our program just about a year ago and is getting ready to look at the idea of entering the world of professional wrestling, what one piece of advice would you give somebody who's just starting in professional wrestling from somebody who's got a wealth of experience and knowledge like yourself?
Just stay in love with it. Just stay in love with it. I mean, you know, we were all fans. You know, that's how we got into this beautiful business. You know, just remember why you're doing this, because we all love wrestling. Just always be in love with professional wrestling.
Well, Jim, like I said, I don't think I could say it any better. Jeremy, before we let Jim go, I mean, again, he is in high demand all across the country, and you know what? I think it's about time for him to take another cold beverage break here. I mean, Jim, I got to level with you. You're probably pretty close to being empty with your beverage. It's about time to kind of refill things right now. So, Jeremy, any final thoughts before we let Jim go here this evening?
Yeah. First, I do want to say it's just fantastic to have you on the show. I think it's great that you're doing this with PWN, NWR. Everything's just fantastic. But, you know, I'll overlook the fact you're a Cubs fan.
If it makes you feel better, I've been to Wrigley Field 17 times. I've only seen the Cubs actually win a game while I was there live in person. I've only seen them win a game once. Now, Now this is the part Luke's going to like. That was when they beat the Cardinals 12-1.
Yes.
So it's funny. I don't remember what the final score was, but I went to a Cubs-Cardinals game at Wrigley last year, and there was a rain delay and everything, and the Cubs ended up winning the hell out of that game. But yes, Wrigley Field is something, and I love Chicago. But
the Cubs could lose their game 100-1. You'll still have a great time at Wrigley. It doesn't even, you don't even have to be a Cubs fan. Just the atmosphere.
The atmosphere.
One of these days, I want to get out to the stadium.
City, so I have no qualms about Chicago, the city, and everything. So, but yeah.
Jeremy, I got to ask you this because you're talking about our beloved Cubbies. The last time you saw the Cubbies and you went to Wrigley, was that Hall of Fame weekend maybe?
That was. I wasn't there for the actual Hall of Fame.
Yes, it was Hall of Fame weekend.
I was there the day that Rizzo made his appearance there, his first time since the World Series. And I'm going to tell you what, I didn't even know until I got home that they played Rizzo's original music when he came out. You couldn't hear it because the place was so damn loud. It was like you were in the middle of an earthquake. It was so loud for Rizzo.
Wow. Well, like I said, Jim, on behalf of the Wrestle Talk family, I mean, again, you have been such a vital part. You've always been very respectful and caring towards the Wrestle Talk podcast. Myself, Chris Rodell, Renee, Jeremy, I mean, from top to bottom, you've always been a class act in every stretch of the word. And again, as we get ready in just a few days to celebrate episode 500, we want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for all the time that you've been willing to give for us. Because, again, we don't even make a tenth of where we are today without a lot of the contributions of guys like yourself and Jesse and countless others, without who the Wrestle Talk podcast does not exist. And we want to say, for Jeremy, myself, and everybody here at the Wrestle Talk podcast, thank you for coming on the program. Thank you for being a loyal part of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. And I'm going to tell you right now, as we always say, if there's anything you ever need, you know, all you got to do is pick up that phone or get on that keyboard, and you know that the Wrestle Talk podcast is going to be there whenever you need us.
Hey, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having us. And congratulations once again on episode almost 500. I will definitely see you guys next Tuesday.
All right. Well, Jim, just as a reminder, it's going to be, as you saw at the top of the hour, it's actually going to be a special Saturday episode. We're actually doing our episode 500 in conjunction with CHWA's John Holt Yo this coming Friday and Saturday. So we're gonna have a lot of people stopping in. We got a lot of special guests that are going to be popping in, and I'll tell you, once we wrap things up, I want to keep some things kind of close to the chest here, being 4 days out from all the big festivities. I'm going to tell you this is going to be one of those. If you're anywhere near a computer, anywhere near a smartphone, you want to tune in, because there's going to be some memories made as a part of episode 500, just like there's going to be lots of memories made, whether it's PWN, NWR. Whenever you see this man right here on the screen, Jimmy D, Jim Roberts, I'm going to tell you right now, you will never be disappointed by this man, because he brings it every time. Jim, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again real soon.
All right. Thank you for having us, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Matthews, Jimmy D, Jim Roberts from PWN and NWR. From top to bottom, a great show, guys. Again, it's been just phenomenal. And Jeremy, we got a little bit of business to take care of, but it's here. You feel that feeling that you know something magical is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's 4 days. 4 days.
My hand's cramping. Cramping.
It's permanently. It's cramped like this, my friend. But you know something, Jeremy? Before we get going, I know we got to take care of the sponsors. And actually, tell you what, let's go ahead and take care of the sponsors here real quick. We want to say thank you to all the great Wrestle Talk podcast sponsors. Again, we talk about Royal Mills Transportation.
Consideration paid for by the following.
As we see right here, I want to thank our great sponsors, as you said here, Royal Mills Transportation, home of the CEO, Dewan Mills, longtime supporters of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Nobleman's Barber Lounge, Kansas City, the Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media, all your local media news, all your podcasts. Make it a point to check out Interstate 70 Sports Media with the one and only the maestro, Jeremy Karp. Little Popeye Designs to buy one of those great Wrestle Talk podcast tumblers to support the program, and the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. Now, Jeremy, I know for a fact we're going to have just another, probably looking at the time here, we've only got a couple more minutes before we have to call it a night. But I want to go ahead here, and I want to give you the floor. You've been a fan of the program, been a guest of the program. You've been a host of the program. You've been a very integral part of the Wrestle Talk podcast on our journey. How do you feel right now, man? Not just tonight, but from everything that's there. How do you feel, my friend?
It's surreal. It is very surreal to think about that we are 4 days away from making history. I told people when we were hitting 100 for Roundabout Sports, I said it was amazing we did that, but I didn't even think, I said it amazes me that we're hitting 500 episodes of Wrestle Talk podcast, and you and I have been there for, how many do you think we've been a part of? Just give me a good guess.
I will put my best estimate right now, and I was going back and doing some research today. I think I was around episode 200, maybe a little earlier than that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Jeremy, you and I, we've been a part of Wrestle Talk for a long time, and I want to say this for
I was
you.
still living at the old house in St. Peter's, in my childhood home in St. Peter's.
Mhm.
And that we moved in 2017, and then Hangman Adam Page burned it down last week. So no.
Oh man. Well, Jeremy. All kidding aside, though, man. I mean, we sit here and we look at it. We want to give a very special shout out to the Wrestle Talk podcast sponsors. We want to give a shout out to the Wrestle Talk podcast family. Again, we keep growing each and every day. We keep doing what we're doing because of our love of professional wrestling and the fans who contribute each and every week with their comments, with their shares, with their Facebook messages, their tweets, all that kind of stuff. Again, we would not be where we are today without the Wrestle Talk podcast family. And you know something, Jeremy? I went back and I looked at something today. And we didn't get a chance to share the information because we just kind of ran out of time. I went back today and I looked at the PWI Top 500. It's still kind of hit and miss trying to find it online without having to buy the episode or buy the issue. We have had, I went back and looked, the present PWI 500. As you see what's here, again, Freddie Jack Funkhauser talking about CHWA's John Holt Yo this weekend. Make it a point to check him out at the Sports Academy. But I went back and I looked at it, Jeremy. 17 wrestlers that are on the PWI 500 this year have been a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast. 17. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people have always wondered, what can the Wrestle Talk podcast do? Because of the team, because of the family, because of the sponsors, because of everybody involved. Number 6 on the PWI 500 this year. Number 6, Damian Priest, Punishment Martinez, however you know, has been a part of this program. And we can just go down the list. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, the Maestro, the Night Owl, Nightmare Jones, Chris Rodell, Justin Wade, Gabriel Arsene, from top to bottom, from everybody that's been a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast, we want to say thank you for getting us to the doorstep of a monumental accomplishment. As a reminder, as my good friend Jeremy Karp always says, and Jeremy, if you can go ahead and bring up the graphic one more time. If you ever are struggling, you're ever hurting, you're ever needing somebody to talk to, make it a point, talk to a friend, talk to family, talk to anybody. But if you don't have anybody, make it a point. You've always got somebody who's going to be an ear for you. Make it a point. And Jeremy, I think we've got the graphic here to bring it up as well on the screen here. 988 24/7 365. If you need a voice, if you need somebody to talk to, make it a point to give them a call. They're always going to be an ear to listen to you. And again, right now, I think with that, Jeremy, if we can go ahead here, we can go ahead, and you got it right here across the bottom of the screen, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, dial 988. You're never alone. Again, you've always got somebody to listen to you. You're never alone. And with that, Jeremy, I think just so everybody can remember, maybe one more thing. It's tonight. It's on the doorstep. 4 days away. Jeremy, if you can go ahead and get rid of the ticker so we can get what we need to do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Luke Skywalker Roberts, the Maestro Jeremy Karp. We hope to see you this Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, for a monumental episode of the Wrestle Talk podcast, episode 500. It's here. And I'll tell you right now, it's going to be a lot of memories are going to be made this Saturday. We'll see you Saturday, 2 Eastern, 1 Central. Jeremy, if you can hit the video, we'll see you Saturday for Wrestle Talk Podcast's 500th episode. Take care, and we'll see you Saturday.